They've gone quiet. In fact, let me show you what Adam Shifty Schiff had to say. Watch.
The White House knew about this on November 2nd, so we didn't learn about it. The public wasn't informed until this week, and it was only after the story was, was out there. Reporters were asking questions. Should they have been more forthcoming? Should this information have been revealed earlier?
I think the administration will need to answer that question. I'm going to reserve judgment until they do. But I think it's important to point out that the Biden approach was very different in the sense that it looks, as far as we can tell, that it was inadvertent that these documents were in these locations.
Lance, listen to Adam Schiff. He's now reserving judgment. How conservative of him. What do you think, Lance?
It's probable, Gene, that if we just took a breath and looked at this, we're going to find out that Delaware is actually advancing. There's a case on Hunter Biden. I think they're already going through an official subpoena of information and documents. To remember something, they know now with the midterms that the Republicans are going to go for a committee and evaluate the Hunter Biden laptop. So they've got the laptop. They're looking at what documents are on the laptop that could incriminate Joe Biden. It's just a theory I got. They now say, oh, my gosh, where are the documents? His $2,500 an hour lawyers are going through his garage in Delaware next to his Corvette, rummaging through boxes. Why? Because they're trying to get all the email and paper trail connected to his son, Hunter. They're trying to pull it out of all these locations. Now, every document that comes out is we're going to have to look at what it is. This is more of a big deal than people realize because, as you'll probably cover tonight, we're now discovering how the money was going from the Chinese government to Biden and to the son. The location at the University of Pennsylvania, where one of the files was found, where they're getting documents out of it, was paid basically by a donation from $57 million from the Chinese Communist Party to the campus. At least that campus received the funds from Communist China and then put up a Biden center over there where he only went 6 times and got paid like $700,000. So the machinery is starting to unravel because we're seeing the financial trail connected to these locations. That's what makes this so interesting.
It does make it interesting. And, the facts, who would have ever thought, Jesse, that this is, the facts are stranger than fiction after what he said about how, this is hard to believe and this is irresponsible, yet he's got this and more in his own. Do you think he knew what was going on?
I think Biden knows a lot more than people are saying. I don't mean this to sound rude, but I really believe President Biden and his administration they are weaponized stupidity. It's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. They say one thing, do another, but their words come back and bite them. I believe they knew it all because, if you really think about how the Democrats work, it's pretty easy. If you think about it, they're trying to go through the documents, get them just like Hillary, trying to burn up all the 33,000 emails. They do the same thing. They just put a different paper bag on it. But that's, to me, and I heard someone say it, and I like to say it, that's weaponized stupidity. When he did the 60-minute thing talking about this, and now it's come back to bite him. And the thing I can't get over, they put it in a locked garage with a Corvette. But I thought he was believing in climate control, man. Corvettes burn a lot of fossil fuels, and a lot of it. It's just amazing to me that everything they're trying to do is turning against them. And I believe that's the Lord opened that up and starting to come back and say, wait a minute, you said this, you said that. Now the media has to. They have to ask these questions. And I'm telling you what, I think when they appointed that special prosecutor to look at this, that special prosecutor ought to look at that attorney general also and the Department of Justice. So he's got power, and people say you shouldn't do that. No, you do. We want a government we can trust, and we all know we can't trust the government we have right now.
Well, yes, we do know that. Yeah, we know more every day, it seems like. Let me show you what Democrat Representative Jamie Raskin had to say from that bastion of accurate media telling CNN. Watch.
The first batch of documents was found on November 2nd, a week before the midterms, but the public didn't learn about it until it was reported in the press just this past week. And even then, the White House didn't acknowledge that a second batch of documents had been found in December until that, too, leaked. Chairman Comer has a point when he says we learned about this because CBS News reported on it, and then everybody else followed and got that information. Now we've learned they found more documents than previously disclosed in a third location. It's hard to argue that the administration's been transparent and told the American people about this as soon as they could have.
Well, of course, it was a very rapid clip at which we learned about it compared to the Trump case where he fought it for nearly a year or perhaps over a year. And the government investigators had to go to court in order to get a subpoena to go to Mar-a-Lago to get dozens of boxes of classified material and government documents that were being held down there. So, look, I don't know yet, and I'm hoping our investigations will reveal what you're supposed to do if one of these documents surfaces.
Well, we know what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to talk about it and let the American people know what's going on. You know, Pastor Hank, we see this. It seems very irresponsible for them, and it seems like the Democrats are on the ropes. Now, let me throw something your way first and let you comment on that. It almost seems like the Democrats may be setting up Joe Biden to get rid of him. You think that could possibly be the case?
Mm-hmm. I think what's happening also is things that God prophesied playing out. And I do think that it is a setup also that they are wanting to get rid of this whole thing with this fake administration that's going on. I think they don't have any real answers. They know that it's falling apart. But here's what God said, and this is what I want the people to be reminded of. For months that we've been coming on FlashPoint, God said you would see a great unraveling. You would see great exposures. You would see the Lord begin to take the covers and pull them off and open the curtains for all to see what is really going on. And this is what's happening right now. And then the Lord said that he would be a positive irritant in their hinder parts. And he took that reference out of the Bible where the Philistines touched something of the Ark of the Covenant that God deemed sacred. And as a result, they got hemorrhoids, and they went ahead and put a golden emerald up to worship it. So God is saying, look, I'm going to be the positive irritant. I'm going to begin to show the world what I've known, what I've seen, and I'm going to show the earth truth. And so what I feel we're going to see is not only more and more things to try to, set up this fake presidency, but I also think we're going to see more and more vindication of President Trump, and that God is in fact standing with him, and for those of us who stood for the things that are important to God and that President Trump stood for. So hold on for a good ride, because things are going to swiftly change, and we're going to see some amazing, amazing things be revealed. And when it happens, some people are going to go, man, I can't believe this is what was really going on.
I know, I agree. Let me read you what Mark Levin said, because I thought he did this very well, and I'll wrap up this little section right here. He said, number one, I do see a difference between President Trump and then VP Biden on classified documents. Trump's team was negotiating with the DOJ over the documents, and Biden covered up the existence of the documents for months. Number two, the documents Trump were protected in a location that was guarded by the Secret Service. Hello, not so with Biden. One of the places where Biden kept classified documents was heavily subsidized, is what Lance was saying, by the communist Chinese. Not so with Trump. Then number three here. Another difference is that Trump was president and had the indisputable constitutional authority to classify and declassify information as he saw fit. Biden, as vice president, had no such power. Biden held classified documents for years. Lance, when we see this, and Levin put it, very well, but what do you think the future, this story, it almost seems, Lance, like the story would have been better if they said, hey, we found all these documents in 4 different places and we're investigating it. And then the story would have died. But this continual drip of new places, I think is a bit suspect that there's more going on here than what we see.
As you pointed out, I think what's really weird is the media, when you get these guys backing up I mean, they will lie. They'll flat out, the media will cover for you and the politicians will lie. But when they start backing up, they know something's coming. I'm telling you, I really do believe that the Hunter Biden laptop, 10% to the big guy thing, they know it's going to unravel and come out. And they know two things. Joe is not that smart when it comes to covering up his tracks. And Hunter was a drug addict when he left all the prints. Now, here's the deal. The son is one of the people that had access to the documents. This is kind of weird. The son, you'll find out, was there. Why? Because he was renting out a 4,500 square foot house in Wilmington, Delaware, for like $45,000 or $50,000 a month for 10 months. Nobody, unless you're laundering money, pays rent to their dad of $50,000 a month for a house in Wilmington, Delaware that you could probably justify for $5,000 a month. What if that $50,000 for 10 months was a $500,000 payback to the big guy for his help in getting some business in China? If any of that kind of trail is corroborated by documents that are on the laptop that happen to be tucked away in Joe's garage, suddenly this story becomes extremely significant. That's why I think they're all being careful.
They are being careful, but I'm telling you, this is not going away. Yes, Pastor Hank, go ahead.
Yes. I want to, Lance said something very powerful, and it's right in the flow. The Lord spoke a prophetic word again on Sunday that he said several years ago that there would be his finger, God's finger, that would begin to point, and it would be connected to a thumb drive that would have things that have been connected to Ukraine and to China. Now, at the time that this prophecy was, we're going, well, what are you talking about? China, Ukraine. What are you talking about? A thumb drive. But there is evidence that there is a thumb drive that they got from Hunter's laptop, that they have the evidence. And I'm telling you, the American people, especially you intercessors that have been praying and you that are standing in faith, this laptop is not going to go away, and it's going to continue to be the sore subject for these Democrats, and it's God's finger, and you watch a thumb drive that God's going to continue to drive his thumb until this thing gets exposed, and it isn't going to go away. And
I think we're going to see more than it dripped out. I'm going to go back to what Hank was saying, is that the Philistines filled up the wells with dirt. Well, the Democrats have had a bunch of dirt in these wells, and the old faithful geysers are starting to come up, and they're going to blow all the dirt out of there. And then people are going to see what's been going on, and you can't hide it. Because once dirt starts flying, somebody's going to get muddy, and it's going to hit them because they're the ones that did it. This thing is going to get bigger and bigger than we possibly can ask or think, and it could be the catalyst to put this nation back to where God wants it to be. But I do know this, that dirt cannot stay inside of what I call old faithful guise of truth. And the dirt's coming out. So I believe that, because I consider that the Philistines, that they put dirt, this has been nothing but dirt for years and years and years. And what you sow, you're going to reap. And it's going to happen. And I tell you what, I think the Democrats going to get to a point, and you can tell when they start talking, they usually don't stumble, but they all stumbling now, trying to say something. But when your mouth is full of dirt, it's hard to speak anything.
That's good.
That's great. I love that. When your mouth is full of dirt. I don't have a comment to that.